Hello knitters, Faye Lim from Strands Knitting Studio in San Clemente, California. And today I have classes and why do we knit with our left and our right hands? And why do we hold the yarn either in our right or our left hands? Stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to start with classes. So the first class coming up is this Sunday from 10 to 12, Sunday the 12th, and it's the Fair Isle hat. So you're going to learn how to do stranding and Fair Isle, and that's what Fair Isle is just doing patterns with two different colors. You're only holding two colors at a time. Yep. And there's lots of little tricks to make sure this works well, because stranding, if you're too tight on your stranding, so stranding is stranding because you're carrying yarn around the back from, like, if I knit once here with the white, and then I did several with the brown, and then I had to knit with the white again. So you have this strand that goes behind your knitting. So if these strands are too tight because you've got your knitting sort of squished up on your left hand needle or your right hand needle, then this part will be puckery. So it look a little bit like an egg crate kind of thing. And you can't block it out because the strand will only stretch so far. So there's tricks on how to deal with that so that you have flat, because this is very flat right here, and loose enough but not too loose, stranding in the back. So that's a Fair Isle hat. This is just a mock-up I did because we are doubling the yarn. We're using DK. This is a fingering weight yarn, sport weight yarn. So sport weight yarn? I think it's a sport weight yarn. The llama. So I double stranded the llama. I mean, I held two strands at a time together as one. I held two strands together as one strand, which made it more of a DK weight yarn. So this is fingering DK weight. And so, but that means that I had you cast on a different number than the pattern actually tells you. And you're going to use the same chart. You didn't have to do anything to chart, but you just don't do as many of the pattern. And you'll see that these patterns are a little bit bigger, which is fine. It's all good. And you're welcome to do the llama single-stranded, and you'll be on a 1 and a 2. That's why I put it up, because most of you do not want to knit with a 1 or a 2. This one, I was on a 6. Yeah, see me and my remembering, but around a 5, maybe a 5 or a 6. It's in the newsletter what you need. So it obviously knits up much faster. Okay, and then for the class, before class, if you can, before class, get your rib done, because then you can start right into the color work. If you're not able to do that and you just want to come and play with the color work part, you can do that too. Just have two colors that you want to work with to start with, and we can just cast on something, just so that you can practice doing the color work. So that's an option too if you're not able to get the rib done. And then after you've played with the color work, if you're going to start the hat, we'll get your hat started. So anyway, that's this Sunday from 10 to 12. Okay, and then my next class is the Wendover Scarf class, which is Sunday the 19th from 10 to 12. So that's a week from Sunday. And this is the scarf, a little scarf. And you get this design here, this design going down with German short rows. So again, German short rows, come learn your German short rows. So this is actually a really good project to learn how to do German short rows, because it's pretty easy, because you're only doing it every once in a while you do it. You're not having to go back and forth, do it. So this is a pretty fun one to do it in. Again, this is the llama. That's what I used because I wanted to knit with it because it's so soft and beautiful. But again, this is a scarf, so it can be done in anything, truly anything. It's also all knit. So it's pretty beginner friendly. You'll be learning to do the German short rows, but those are, not much different than knitting two together kinds of stuff. So that's the Wendover class. Again, it's all knitting, so pretty simple. Wendover class is the 19th from 10 to 12. Okay, the next class coming up is the Karen's bag, market bag. And this will be Saturday the 25th from 12 to 2. And this is a pretty good beginner-friendly project. After you've done a couple couple projects like a hat or something. And so you'll come to class, you're going to knit this and you're this square, and it's all knitting, and you're going to come to class with this knit up, and then we pick up stitches along the sides of it. That's the hardest part of the whole class. So that's why you're coming with this already knit up. You don't want to knit. You don't need me to knit. And then we'll pick up, and then we have some increasing to do these first few rounds. And then you'll get started on the actual the stitch pattern, which this is like purl 4, slip 2, purl 4, slip 2. It's very simple. And so you're carrying two yarns, and there are no wrong answers as far as the Caron yarns. They all look beautiful together. Just what colors you want. As you can see, there's different colors in the strand, and the colors move differently. Yep, and it's a ribbon yarn, so it's got a really nice texture to it, but you can also use a cotton yarn, which I talked about last week, but we've got cotton yarns that you can use, and I would stick to cottons and that kind of thing, rather than wool, because it's a bag. So that's a Caron's bag, and it is Saturday the 25th from 12 to 2. Okay, now our cable blanket class. So here's a picture of the blanket, and it's on hold at the moment because most of us are using this cream colored yarn, and we're having shipping issues. So we're waiting for the yarn company to call us and say, okay, we have it, or it's on its way, and then I'll reset dates for this class. So this is an intermediate to advanced class. I mean, if you're an advanced person, you're going to totally enjoy this class. If you're intermediate, you're going to learn a lot in this class because there's a lot to learn besides just cables. But you're going to learn how to track cables, track a chart, and then be able to do all of this kind of work. It's real fun. Cables aren't hard. You just have to sort of pay attention to what you're doing, whether it's right leaning or left leaning, but you're just taking, like, these are my 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably should be for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to take 2 of them off. That's just one example. I'm going to knit these 2, then I'm going to knit these 2. So all I've done is change the order of the stitches. That's all cabling is changing the order of the stitches. So it's not like it's really complicated, but it's more about tracking the pattern is what's more complicated. So that's sort of what you'll be working on. The blocks are all different kinds well, they're not all different sizes, but there's different size blocks, which is why this, I think, is such a gorgeous blanket, because it's not just a bunch of squares. There's actually, it's beautiful. And you're making pretty much an heirloom blanket that's going to be passed down forever. That's why we sort of say stick to neutral colors. We are using Cascade 220 Aran, and which is just a tad bit heavier than the worsted, which makes this a little bit more squishy and wonderful. You have several different size needles you'll be working with depending on the different parts of the blanket that happen. And and you're going to need either an iPad or a notebook of some sort that you can put an app on, and that's where the pattern's going to live. And I think I'm going to try to put up something I recorded before about this, about the app and having it on your device. Like I use nothing but my device, my iPad, for all my patterns. One, they're all downloaded on my iPad, so I can always pull them up. 2, it's like you can enlarge things. Just think of how you're on a computer. You can go like this and everything gets bigger. Well, like just even your regular knitting rows that get bigger. You can highlight, the highlighter moves, you can make notes, you can sort of move the page to help you track. I think it's the best thing in the world. You're not dealing with papers that get all crinkly and yucky and like, forget it. So I use my device all the time. I highly suggest you use your device all the time because it really is a game changer as far as pattern reading goes. But anyways, for this class you have to, because you cannot enlarge this pattern enough, and keep it dark enough to where you lose your grid lines. So, it's like a graph paper. So you lose your grid lines, and you cannot do this pattern if you lose your grid lines. So that means you're pretty much working on the size it is, which is tiny. And so it's just as a whole different experience using the digital version of it compared to paper versions of it. And yes, I'm going to pretty much insist that you do this, I'm not even sure if you got it professionally they copied, if they would still be able to keep the grid lines from disappearing after you make it bigger. So anyway, so we'll have the very first class really is just setting up your pattern on your device and learning how to use it. I have an iPad. I use Goodreader is what I use on my iPad. It's a PDF reader, and it's just what I use, and I know it. Okay, there's other things out there that'll work. I just don't know how they work. So I highly suggest, especially if you have an iPad, you'll be getting the app Goodreader, and it costs $6-7, something like that. On a PC. I don't know. I don't think Goodreader is for PC. And I'll check again, but I don't think they haven't been. So unless they've added PC. You're going to need a PDF reader and one that you can highlight a line and move it and stuff like that. I mean, we can do it, but I just don't know that whatever app you're going to be using isn't one I really know. So we have to sort of figure it out together. That's all. And other than that, it all works. So you're going to have that, and I will let you know as soon as I know when we're going to be able to start class and when our yarn is in. Now, if you're not going to want to use the cream color, and you want to do this, but you want a different color, you need to come in and pick your color so that Christine can go ahead and get those other ones ordered. You're going to need 23 skeins. So that's that. Now, this class is not an every month class. It'll be like the first 3 months or so will be once a month. Then it's going to extend because the blocks get bigger. And so we don't want to have to, I don't want pressure. Oh my God, I get this done in a month, So sometimes we go 2 months. And then when we get to the corner ones, which are really big, we push it even, more like maybe 2 to 3 months. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll decide on our own. Like as we go, we'll just decide what we're going to do. But the first couple of classes will be like 3 months in a row, once. Yeah. So we'll do closer. These first ones we'll do closer. And as we go, the classes are going to spread out. That's what I'm trying to say. So call us, email us, let us know if you're interested so that I can have you down on the list. Right now I have about 6 people, I think, 6 or 7 people. Perfect number. And yeah, so join us if that all interesting. It's beautiful. It's so much fun. Everybody did this the last time we did this class. Everybody finished their blankets and they're beautiful and they really, really enjoyed the whole process. So I hope you'll join us. Okay, so why do some of us hold our yarn with the right hand and some of us hold our yarn with the left hand? Well, you sort of have to go way back when. And so I always thought, I have to be corrected. I always thought, because I've heard it over and over, that fishermen in Scandinavia were the ones that did the first bit of knitting. But they really weren't knitting. They were not knotting. So they were using stuff to make knots, not knit. And so actually the very first knitted anything is from Egypt, about 1,000 years AD, so it's a long time ago, and it's a pair of socks, a little pair of socks with a place for your sandals between your big toe and your next toe, so a place for your toes. So socks have been around a long time. I can't believe that would be one of the first things you did, other than you just need the construction of it and it stretches so it works. They sort of used one needle. It was sort of it wasn't our real knitting style that we all do now. It was a little bit different, but it created the same kind of fabric. So it still was sort of a knit fabric. They just did it a little different. And then we don't see anything until it hits Europe, and mostly until it hits England. So pretty much probably from the trade routes, England picked up some knitting. And they just went with it. So it was more like a cottage industry. They use their needles this way. They use their right hand. We call it throwing. And they're using their right hand to do it. Now, I think one of the big reasons that happened was because it's really easy to teach people to knit if they're throwing with their right hand. It's much more difficult to teach people to knit if they're picking with their left hand. So that's because you have a tension issue that has to happen. If you're throwing with your right hand, you don't really have to worry about that so much. So that means England, the States, and Australia, plus any of their other little, places that they were part of, all throw. That's why we throw. So the way you actually knit, it depends on who taught you to knit to how you're going to knit. Because usually it's done when we're young. And so it's easy for, we pick it up and then your hand muscle memory, hands will remember it. It's crazy to me how I have people come in. I haven't knitted for 30 years and I only knitted maybe 1 or 2 scarves. And as soon as I put needles and yarn in their hands and, show them and they start doing it, their hands start trying to hold the yarn. So that's telling me that they had a way that they held their yarn. Or they try to start knitting a little different, and then I have to go, hold it, let's see what you're trying to do, so that I can help you, do the same thing you used to do, as long as it isn't something so weird I can't even deal with, which I don't think has ever really happened. So anyways, it was in England, and then Europe also had it, and they were more about efficiency, and so they got it to where they were holding their yarn in their left hand and picking, what we call picking, which is definitely faster than throwing. Hands down. Well, hands down, for most people, it's faster. For me, I've been doing throwing so in the way I do it, my continental picking and throwing are pretty much the same speed. Now, they are not the same gauge. So you can't go between throwing and continental in the same piece without dealing with gauge issues. My continental knitting and purling are looser than my throwing is. So I do not get the same gauge. So you have to deal with that. So I would not go between knitting and throwing in a same project, because you're gonna have probably some issues. Unless it's a scarf or something. But anyways, because there are people who do, it's not a good idea. And then, so then they just did, that's what happened over there, and they're all with their left hand for the most part. And then you have other countries that knit, like Portugal puts the yarn around, tensions the yarn around their neck. I think Peru does this too. They also have this little pin that they run the yarn through, and then they're knitting. And the Portuguese one, I wish I had to learn Portuguese, because they flick their thumb to do the pearl stitch. Oh my God, faster than any other, stupid fast. And the knitting is pretty fast too. So Portuguese is not a bad way to go. But there are other ways of doing it. Just countries just made it work the best they could and figured things out for them. And then that's sort of what goes in that countries. And so that's why we have these two, people often call battling things, and they're not really. It really is all about who taught you. And then about who taught you was the first way you learn. Now, I also have to say that there is one time that a lot of us use both of them at the same time, and that's color work. So I carry my one yarn in my right hand and one of the yarns, so I have 2 yarns going in my left hand, and I can sit here and do this. And that is thank God we have 2 ways to do it, because it is so efficient, it's crazy. So that is the only time, and because I'm using both, and it's also Fair Isle stranded stuff, the tension is a little bit different anyways, so it works really well. So there's a little history on knitting and why we use both. You've got people that use different hands. And for me, I teach throwing because, again, it is the easiest way to get somebody knitting. In 15 minutes, I've got you knitting. If it's picking with your left hand, it's going to take me at least half to maybe the whole class, private, to get you knitting. So it just is so much easier with beginners. Now, if you want to learn, you learn to throw, but you want to learn to continental, absolutely you can do that, especially it doesn't really matter. The only thing I would say is to just make a swatch and just practice on that until you get it down. Don't try to actually knit something or anything that's real, because you're going to be struggling. And the purl, I'm telling you, the real reason I don't use continental is the purl is stupid. It's very fiddly. It's like this whole thing. So that's why that's what slows me down. The purling just slows me down. So I'm much faster throwing. So throwing isn't always not efficient. It may not ever be quite as efficient as the continental is, but it's still very efficient once you're sort of doing, once you get it down, you can go you can go fast. And the purling is better throwing than it is on a continental. Just my own personal opinion. So there you go. That's why we used different hands to do the same thing. Okay, and that's it for today. You got lots of classes to choose from coming up, and summer's peeking around the window here. So come and see what we've got going. Come join a class, come join a workshop, and I hope to see you in the studio real soon. Bye.